Exciting NBA playoffs. We're talking playoffs, folks. Looking at the West, that 4 versus 5 matchup between the Clippers and Suns look poised to be a battle with heavy storylines as both franchises look to win their first championship. The Clippers might be without star forward Paul George, as it's unknown when he'll return from his knee sprain injury. And in the East, 4 versus 5 matchup, we got a good one and two young squads between the Cavs and Stephen A's Knicks. Orange and blue skies, baby. Donovan Mitchell hopes to lead the Cavs to their first playoff series win without LeBron in 30 years against the team he was just seconds away from joining in the offseason. The crew is back. In case you're just joining us, Rajon Rondo, two-time champ in the building. Not calling him playoff Rondo because he's playoff all the time. JJ Redick and my girl Monica McNutt.
Hey,
all right, Monica, which conference has the better 4 versus 5 matchup?
I think that in terms of the aesthetics and offensively appealing, the West has the more attractive matchup. But I think the better matchup that's tightly contested that I see going to 7 games is the Knicks and the Clippers, or Knicks and the Cavs, excuse me. I just think that those teams are so evenly matched. Obviously, the Cavs don't play with a ton of pace per se, but I think you're going to get some interesting calls in terms of defense out of this particular matchup. Of course, the stories, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, like that's something that I think is going to be really interesting. And then a lot to me is going to rest on Julius Randle, how he's able to play with the backline defense that the Cavs have, Mobley, and the guys back there that are really long. So I think that is the series that's going to be better.
And just so you, I don't know if you know, she also covers the Knicks.
cover
She's
the
got like 80 jobs.
Oh, that makes sense.
Women's basketball,
It does make
college,
sense, Rajon.
NBA.
Oh, it makes
she
sense.
Does the Knicks.
Alan,
she does
tear it
the
out.
whole
Let's do
thing,
it.
so the whole deal.
I'm excited to see that.
What you got, Rondo?
What you got?
I got the West. I'm going to go West. You know, the history between, Westbrook, KD. You got the Kawhi-KD matchup. That's going to be interesting. Like I said, then you got two great coaches, Monty Williams and T. Lue. And a couple years back, Phoenix beat the Clippers, the team I actually played on that year, but they didn't have Kawhi. We didn't have Kawhi. So, again, if it gets to 6 or 7, hopefully PG comes back and it gets interesting.
Okay.
The Western Conference matchup, of course, loses some of its luster because we don't know Paul George's availability. And to me, it would be a no-brainer to this question if Paul George was healthy and was able to start the season.
Really?
No-brainer.
Really? I just think the other season. Okay, go ahead.
And I'll tell you why.
Tell me why, JJ
I'm
Redick.
still going with Cleveland Knicks. But I'll tell you why, because you brought up the word pace.
Yeah.
And personally, I am not a fan of NBA basketball scored in the 80s and 90s. I like free-flowing, shooting, all that stuff. And you talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers, slowest pace in the league. Knicks, 5th slowest pace in the league. 2 of the 3 slowest half-court teams in the NBA.
I know.
Like, this is going to be a slog it out series. But I am intrigued by this matchup. And not just because of the storylines. I'm excited to see Darius Garland in his first playoff.
In the Garden.
Yes, he's a guy I'm a huge fan of. I thought he had a very underrated season because Donovan Mitchell gets a lot of the headlines for this team. But Darius Garland had a fantastic season, following up on an all-star year last year. You've got Evan Mobley, who I'm very curious to see how he does in his first playoff series, especially defensively. He's going to be tasked with guarding Julius Randle at times. He's going to be switched on to Brunson at times.
Right.
So I like that. Randall, can he bounce back from that Hawks series when he didn't play his best from 2 seasons ago? And then there's something at the end of the game in these two teams because the Cleveland Cavaliers struggled in clutch time games. That's one of the reasons on paper you're like, oh, they should be a contender. But they really struggle to close out games. And on the other side of you have Jalen Brunson, who has been one of the best clutch-time players in the NBA this season. So if we're talking about slow games, they're likely going to be close. I'm excited to watch these teams play down the stretch of basketball games.
So basically, my first answer was right, that you think the prettier matchup is in the West.
100%.
But the tighter, the better. Like, I think that goes 7. Like, I just think that. You don't think it goes 7?
I think both series go 7, possibly.
You do? I don't think the West is going to go 7 if Paul George don't come back. I don't think it's going to go 7.
I can't count Kawhi out like that. I can't. I mean, he does.
So I mentioned this yesterday, and I want you guys to tell me if I'm tripping. When Kawhi went super mercenary and ran the table with the Raptors, they went on that title. I think a guy like Kyle Lowry mattered a lot. And not that there are not pieces around him in with this Clippers roster that have experience deep into the playoffs. But there was something about, like, I hate to toss around leadership because so much happens behind the scenes that we don't see. But there was something about Kyle's presence to me that helped just kind of bring the whole thing together. And I have not seen that sort of cohesiveness consistently in the Clippers. Because I know 3 weeks ago, I was like, the Clippers are going to turn a corner. They about to run the table. It's their year. And then I was like, wait, are they actually? I just feel like there's something still not quite, and it's not even the Paul George thing.
I'm just going off of personal experience.
Okay.
Being in the locker room with the guys, Kawhi, PG, playing for Coach T. Lue, the preparation that they're going to have, not to discredit the Phoenix Suns or what Monty Williams is going to bring as well, because they did still beat us. But at the same time, the mindset, the focus that they're going to bring, the preparation, the readiness that they're going to have, I just can't count the Clippers out getting beaten 5. So if it does get to 6 or 7, I'm looking for PG to come back and save the show.
I actually have a question for you, but I want to follow up on what she said because you bring up Kyle Lowry and that Raptors team. I think Marcus Gasol, who was a late season addition to that team, was just as important. His defense on, I was there, his defense on Joel Embiid in that series in the second round. Thanks for bringing up one of the low points of my life. But also his leadership as well. I think that was important. And then you had Fred VanVleet, who his wife gave birth to a child, and then all of a sudden he went on this incredible run, starting in Game 3 of the Milwaukee series, all the way through the finals. Clippers need somebody like that. They need a Fred VanVleet to step up and go on a run. Terrence Mann maybe could be that guy. My question to you, because you've alluded to this a few times, and I played for him when he was an assistant with Doc. But what makes T. Lue so special? Why do you have so much trust in him in a playoff series?
His willingness to think outside the box. He puts guys in different situations to be successful. He gives the opposing team difficult matchups to kind of adjust to late in the fourth. And also his counters in the fourth, that what makes him great. You know, his ATOs coming out of timeouts. We would run through walk-through plays for probably the first 30, 40 minutes. So guys, you know, you knew what your assignments were. You knew what tasks, what pick to set, and when particularly to go and set those screens. So I'm just big on preparation. That's what I pride myself on throughout my career in the playoffs, and I think they'll be well prepared, which a lot of teams will. But at the same time, you have those guys that have that experience, and you need a mix of guys that need a chip on their shoulder, that want to get there. The Russell Westbrook that's going to buy in and make sure it happens. The young PG and Bone. I don't know what happened between him and Plumlee, but you know, being a veteran team, I don't think that'll affect him as much as it will Minnesota.
Yep.
Well, last thing on the Knicks-Cavs series, because I can't let y'all shout out Darius Garland. He's great, but also Emmanuel Quickley. Let's go. Sixth man of the year, let's go. I hope you vote. Did you vote for Emmanuel Quickley for sixth man?
I did. I voted for second. Yeah.
All right, continue, Molly.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
I'm just wondering what encompasses fluidity, what shape for you? I was just wondering what that looks like.
Box?
What
Circle.
is that, JJ? JJ.
No. I was bringing my hands together.
It's
No,
fluid.
You know, like
you see
the hands closed.
You were doing
You see the hands
fluid.
closed.
You're doing
See the
this
hands closed?
fluid, and
Look.
you were just a little confused.
You guys, look, Stephen A. He's not here to defend himself.
I just want to know.
But sometimes
Hold on.
makes
What is
Hold
happening?
on.
some
I
out-of-pocket
just wanna
comments,
know, 'cause-
and I
'cause
feel
you
like
got
doing all
on.
this is like alluding to something else, and I'm like, let's bring it
got
together.
So
This is coalescing. It's not fluid.
This was for Disney. This was safe.
Disney.
I get
Yes.
it. It was safe.
Yes.
It's a round ball.
Yes.
I got you. It's cool. It's
It's a
good.
Disney operation.
So
We
funny.
didn't lie, though. We didn't lie. The shape
So
was off.
funny.
All right.
All right, when we come back
My bad,
here on
Tatiana.
First Take, these three sticking around. We always have the tape, JJ. Don't move. Playing game predictions, as well as which NBA Finals matchup is on our